Hollis, author of the Hollow Man series and owner of Hollow Man Publishing, and Frank Fiore, host of Fridays with Frank. Frank, how are you? And I'm ready for our guest today. Are you ready, Frank?
Yes.
We have a lineup of live, unbelievable ones, and our guest today is Daniel Granger. And Daniel, thanks for stopping by. I love the fact, first of all, that your background is you're a former special child development special education teacher. I too was a former special education teacher, and I guess in child development, I worked early intervention, birth to three, and all these things. Daniel, thanks for stopping by. What made you ultimately write the book?
Yeah, I wrote a book about seasonal affective disorder because I have seasonal affective disorder. What is seasonal affective disorder? It is when someone gets sad or depressed during the winter holidays because of lack of sun.
And that's such an intriguing thing, Franco, with your question. That's a great thing to jump because I, too, being in Pittsburgh with the least amount of sunny days next to Seattle, Washington, I definitely need the light. I think this big light I use helps a heck of a lot. That's not a uh, like those some of these people. This is like a professional light I use, and it really helps my mood. But I've dealt with it too. What about you, Frank? Not you being Arizona and stuff. There's a lot of sun.
In the Valley of the Sun, where I used to live. Of course, we live up in the mountains now, and we do have four seasons. But anyway, we're talking about vitamin E deficiency. Is that where the sunlight comes from?
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D. Yeah. Well, can you take vitamin D to offset the condition, that condition you're talking about?
Perfect question, Frank. First of all, I did also lived in the Arizona, the Valley, east and west side. So when I came back I originally came from Wisconsin, or born in Wisconsin, dealt with SAD, went to Arizona, didn't have it, came back to Wisconsin, and it seemed like I was even more powering than it was before because I guess my body got used to the sun all the time. That being said, you wanted to know if vitamin D can help. So when I was first doing these interviews and first learning about things, I thought it was vitamin D deficiency. And I thought the vitamin you could take would be fine. However, I've talked with the person who coined the term seasonal affective disorder, who is Norman E. Rosenthal, and works at he worked and studied individuals who have SAD. And what he found out after this is his 14th book that he recently told me about. And then he's endorsed my new book, which I got his endorsement if I changed some things in my old book. And vitamin D is not a deficiency. What it is we need to get, and this goes to your point, Neil, we need to get the light, and that resets our biological clock, which is called the circadian rhythms. And the circadian rhythms, once they're reset, and they're kind of like our 24-hour clock that kind of deals with our body and nature. And so when nature and our body kind of you know, and when they agree, then everything's good. But for some people, like with SAD, our bodies, our biological clock, the circadian rhythms don't coincide correctly. And so I needed to change that when I changed my book. And so it isn't vitamin D deficiency, even though if you look on tons of different websites, when I did my research, I saw the exact same thing. It's not that. And like I said, this is Norman E. Rosenthal's 14th book, Defeating SAD. And he found out that that was the case. And so when he saw my book, he gave me the exact same pages where I needed to look and find out that two things I need to change. The other thing I need to change is that I said there's something that children, when I was growing up, I took St. John's wort, which is a boost of happiness kind of. And he said, don't do that. Don't tell kids about that, because there was a study done. And during that study, they had to stop it because people were complaining about pain in their eyes or something like that.
Wow. I mean, it's really interesting. Paul, do you have a question? This is an
Yeah.
intriguing subject.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
I'm actually wondering why you think that special education in general, but the special education that you're speaking about here doesn't really get enough attention.
Well, as far as depression, that's kind of where I'm going with. I don't, I believe the special ed gets the attention it deserves. Totally. I'm a person of special ed. I'm a success story, however you want to go with that. I have my bachelor's and master's, and the where I've gone from special ed to get there is quite a trial. But I believe that special ed does get attention. It's just not depression that gets the attention. Depression with kids, I don't believe.
No,
So when I made my book, you see, oh, like you
you
can't
won't
see
be able
it.
to see it. That's okay. But
There he is.
that,
So when I made my book, I noticed that there was nothing out there that talks about an individual, a person dealing with sad. The people I saw were characters. I saw animals, I saw rocks, I saw other things, I saw globs or whatever, but I didn't see an individual, an actual person. And when I wrote the book, now there is a person that deals with depression.
wow. And that's the thing is mental health with children, especially after COVID and what they've gone through and how kids now stay in their rooms 90% of the time compared to when, kids playing outside. That stops about 5 or 6 or 7 years old now. And then once they're on their devices, it's forget about it. It's they're in my rooms, we're communicating with people that it can become very with social media and all these things, depression can hit. And then let's say they never see sunlight, they stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning on TikTok or specific ads. The depression area really comes and we don't want to speak about it. Mental health is still a stigma. Like, oh, if you have many mental health issues, there's something wrong with you. Not, oh, it could be hereditary, it could be environmental, and it can be fixed. Daniel, it can be fixed that you can see improvement, not just medication, but also other moves, right?
Totally. So for seasonal affective disorder, the two kind of things that I would recommend, and also that Norman Rosenthal recommended, is light therapy, which is certain kind of light therapy, which is kind of what you talked about there, Neil. And you want to have, was it 1,000 lux, which is basically kind of like a dawn. Basically, is if you can imagine the brightness of dawn would be the equal quality or the equal to 1,000 lux. And so you would have this light and you keep it on on you, and the light gets in your eyes. And once it's in your eyes, that's resetting the circadian rhythms. The other thing is, of course, there's psychological, and you can do CBD, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is you kind of get yourself used to get yourself used to the stimulus that's going to happen and kind of put yourself in that spot. Those are the two things that are very beneficial and have success. And if you can do, and then of course, even if combining exercise is even better, but there isn't specifically exercise is not a remedy, but it's helps. So it wouldn't be the one thing you could do,
Right.
but exercise is incredible for what you can do and get you outside. And also to your point, I watched a video recently and it said that an hour of blue light, which is the Zoom, which is looking at our media and stuff at night, is equal to a half an hour delay. So if you go to bed, if you're watching TikTok or whatever till like 9, you're not going to go to bed till 9:30 and worse. So that's what we're up against. Originally, I remember hearing it was like 15 or 20 minutes, but now it's actually half an hour, which is worse.
Well, I turn my phone off pretty much at 7 o'clock. I work from probably 5 a.m. till 7 p.m. every day, except on the weekends. And I try to stay away from my phone on the weekends, and I've seen a lot of improvement. The other thing that I really try to focus my attention on is exercise. Once I have really implemented in the last month and a half yoga routine with DDPY Yoga, Diamond Dallas Page's Yoga, I feel more energy. I feel healthier. So you add those components, and I talked about the light. I have a cube light, not like one of those, and it's strong as heck. As you can see in my lighting, it's strong.
Yeah.
But it really works because then I'm maybe in meetings 4 or 5 hours. So I'm getting 4 or 5 hours of decent light because I'm then in other times I'm working without that light. But it really does help. And I was using another seasonal light as well last winter, And it really helped because it can get you on you, especially if you're in the work environment where you have to go out to work. I luckily don't have to. I can work in my office and then I'll go out, walk the dog, come back, do my thing. And I have a great lifestyle. But I remember when I used to go work to teach, leave at 4:30 in the morning, come home at 8 o'clock at night, never see the sunlight at all for a second or two. And that was really debilitating. So it's
That
great.
goes along to, I'm sorry, that goes along to why I actually wrote the book. I came back to Wisconsin and I'm working at a factory, and it was during COVID, the first 2 years of COVID, and we actually were working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. So for someone who doesn't have seasonal affective disorder and the light doesn't make a difference, it's okay. But for me, I felt horrible, and I actually was in the point where I wanted to take my life.
Wow.
And in taking my life, I found two things that helped me get out of it. One is, wow, I wonder if somebody else feels the same way. And so I wrote this book. The other thing is my best friend needed a kidney. And so I went on a kidney journey, which should actually take 6 months. For me, it took a year and a half. So these two things, I finally found a purpose, but I didn't have a purpose when I first came to that factory. And I was staring at a wall for 8 hours, and well, actually 14 hours. And so I kept on thinking about things, and that's how I wrote the book. And little by little, yeah.
Frank, question as an author to another author. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, a quick question. Tell me about your character, the child in your book.
Oh, well, I had my first had it. So sometimes Sam is happy and sometimes he's sad. There you go. And he's about fifth grade, and he has friends during the summer and the winter, or during this, he has friends all the time. But during the winter time, because he's sad, he pushes them away. He pushes away his friends and family. He pushes away his dog. And during this time, he just has trouble trying to stay up or trying to go to bed because his negative thoughts are always in his head. What else? Yeah, he has a battery. That the first page I actually talk about is that everybody has a battery in them of like happiness or in his seasonal affective disorder. And so there's one picture where there's him vibrant and bright, and this is me when I'm happy, and this is me when I'm sad. And when he's sad, it's all gray and diluted, and you can almost see through it. And so I tried to make this as colorful and as vibrant and as child-driven as possible. I kind of consider myself kind of like a Peter Pan kind of guy. I've taught everyone from preschool all the way up to high school, and I tutored people in college.
Me too. So ditto.
Really?
We did all that same stuff. Yeah, I did early intervention birth to 3 all the way up to college, helped people in the MCATs, and then worked with kids in kindergarten. So I was the kid, so I was former teacher myself, special ed, emergency certified, but taught elementary ed and also middle school and high school. So we have really a lot of similar connections in the game. So best place people can find info on you, Daniel, where can they go?
Yeah. So I do have a website, dan-granger.com. And my book is available on Amazon. It's available anywhere, all over. And I would love to hear more from anybody who wants to hear more about seasonal affective disorder. There's tons of information on there. You can see Sam's gratitude list, which I believe we need to be thankful for all the things. And the more that we're thankful we are, the less we can be sad. Actually, Tony Robbins said something about that. It's hard to be thankful and thankful. It's hard to be thankful and sad at the same time. It's hard to be thankful and angry at the same time. So if you can actually be thankful, that'll win out over your other kind of feelings. So like I said, it's on Dan Granger or dan-granger.com. That's my website, and you can find my book anywhere.
Appreciate it. All right. That was a special